He has not learned his lesson. Let's see what this dumbass has to say.
There's this huge, because it's growing, like every month it grows.
Hold on, let's hear that again.
There's this huge, because it's growing, like
yeah, you're right. Infrared is rising. Hey, Vaush, curiously, I remember when you said, so I think it's fair to say infrared is no longer rising because Haas keeps getting ratioed on Twitter, so infrared is not now. But now you see it is still rising. You understand, bitch, and it's growing bigger and bigger every day, and you're growing smaller and smaller, except physically.
Every month it grows. It's like the Glenn Greenwald.
Diogenes! Yo, Diogenes, what up, bro? Thank you so much, man. Y'all are supporting the LA trip. Y'all are supporting that trip. I appreciate you, man. I really appreciate you.
It's like the Glenn Greenwald, Jimmy Dore, Aaron.
Thank you so much, Janar.
Mate, Gray Zone, Infrared. There's like this gigantic sort of network. Tulsi Gabbard's in there too, and I think,
you know, this is how you do. This is how you. This is psychosis, right? So a paranoid, psychotic person is going to accuse everyone outside of their specific bubble of being the same. So as long as we're outside of Vaush's little lefty discourse, we're all the same, right? Yeah, I'm the same as Tulsi Gabbard. Shut the fuck up, dude. It's like, he's just defining us based on the fact that we're not part of his fucking network. That means we're the same?
I think they're so ideologically different, you know? Because Glenn Greenwald is
yeah, but how are we part of the same movement? Which is we're outside of you?
Essentially just a Republican, you know? But like, Infrared isn't. And
oh, why not? I thought I was a Nazi.
And even Jimmy Dore, though he mostly criticizes Democrats, ostensibly plays lip service.
Look at this. Infrared is straight up a red fash. Thank you, Maximilian. Whenever I tell people I'm literally just a Marxist-Leninist, you know why? I'm not just a Marxist-Leninist. Maybe I'm not. But in that case, we're referring to a higher, like, sublation of Marxism-Leninism, which hasn't happened yet. So we're going to stick to the precedent for now. But, yeah, I'm just a Marxist-Leninist, right? Let me put it this way. I'm a Marxist-Leninist in the same way that Lenin was an Orthodox Marxist. Simple as that. Now, does that mean I'm going to be dogmatic and there's no future? No, because you know what? I'm fucking sick of fucking MLs, like the ones on Twitter I'm debating or arguing with. These stupid fucks. Like, they had the same mentality. If Lenin had their mentality, Lenin would have never written the book Imperialism. And I have to ask these dumb fucks a question who say, how can you say we live in socialism? Let me ask you a question. Lenin identified imperialism as a brand new stage that was closer to socialism. It was a step closer to socialism, right? And he said, we're finally towards socialism. It's the last stage of capitalism. And these MLs seriously want us to believe that we're still in the same stage Lenin was talking about, just because nobody has had the balls to do what Lenin did since then. It's like, since he left off, we're living in the same time period, right? Just because no one has had the courage to repeat what Lenin did. And you know what fucking Lenin did, right? He said, fuck you to all the fucking Orthodox Marxists at his time. He went into a cave and he read Hegel. And he came out realizing that these people have completely fucked up Marxism because they forgot Hegel. They forgot the philosophical foundation. And it is on that basis that Lenin made the contribution to Marxism. That's the reason we have Marxism-Leninism. The reason it's called Marxism-Leninism is because Lenin made a unique and independent contribution to Marxism. And the reason he was able to do that is because he said, fuck you to the discourse, and he went to the roots of Marxism through Hegel. And he literally said this. He literally said, in case you fucking need proof, I will literally show you what the man himself said. So anytime someone tells you they're a Marxist-Leninist, please show them this. It is impossible to fully grasp Marxist capital and its first chapter, so we're not even talking about the second and third, just the first chapter, if you have not studied through and understood the whole of Hegel's logic. Consequently, none of the Marxists for the past half a century have understood Marx. He didn't say you have to know some of it. He said you have to study through and understand the whole of Hegel's logic. Okay? Hegel's logic is a book, by the way. It's a book. The Science of Logic. It's a book called The Science of Logic. If you don't study through and understand that whole thing, Lenin says you will not grasp Marxist capital. And he attributes, he says, because Marxists didn't do this for half a century, none of them have understood Marx. Literally half a century went by and they forgot Marx. What the fuck do you think is going on now? Tell me what you guys fucking think is going on now, huh? So Lenin said for half a century, nobody's understood Marx. Marxists haven't understood Marx. We're living in 2021. How many Marxists do you know have mastered Hegel's logic, science of logic? How many do you know? Fucking none of them. These fucking dogmatic shit-eating pieces of shit who fucking call themselves Marxist-Leninists just because they don't go any farther than Lenin did. Lenin just so happened to die in the...
Has he jiggled yet?
Thank you, Brandon. Lenin just so happened to fucking die in the 1920s. So apparently it's over, and that's it. There's no longer any unique contributions because Lenin died in the 1920s. Just because no one has the balls Lenin fucking had to challenge all of the Marxists of his day. And that's what fucking Lenin did. He went against and challenged all of them. I'm so fucking sick of this idea of people thinking that Lenin was just going along with the discourse, and anyone who goes against the discourse is a reactionary. Then you would have called Lenin the biggest reactionary of all fucking time, because he said fuck you to the entire discourse, and he went against every fucking Marxist of his time. And people make it seem like on Twitter he would have been with the fucking Chapo mob, ratioing people and shit. You're a reactionary. The majority of tweeters are against you. Lenin would be with us. No, he fucking wouldn't. He fought tooth and nail by himself against the equivalent of you in his time. You stupid bitch. Dogmatic pieces of shit. And I cannot exempt many more of recent Marxists from this reproach, for most amazing rubbish has been produced in this quarter too. Yeah. You know? That is why Lenin had that fucking hairline. Kwame Nkrumah's neocolonialism offers a similar contribution as Lenin's imperialism. No, it doesn't. Lenin's contribution has been unparalleled, period. Maybe you can talk about Mao. But even then, I would say even Mao is just an extension of Lenin. Even Mao was just an extension of Lenin in many ways. Nobody went further than Lenin. There's Marx and then there's Lenin. Now, Stalin and Mao were geniuses. They were great people. But it's called Marxism-Leninism for a reason. Yes, Mao is an extension of Lenin. And if you don't fucking understand that, You don't even know how much consequences Lenin's break with orthodox Marxism has for Marxism. You don't know how big what Lenin did was. You don't know how big what he fucking did was. He changed everything. Lenin literally changed everything. So much so that not even Stalin himself drew out all of the consequences of Lenin. Lenin's break with orthodox Marxism was so profound and fundamental that to this day, in 2021, no one has yet to actually come to terms with how it was that someone can rediscover Marx in the way that Lenin did. How can there be a new contribution to Marxism? What does that say? A new contribution. Mao was into anarchism? No, he fucking wasn't. Mao was a Marxist-Leninist, and he was a deeply Chinese thinker. Mao was most of all influenced by Chinese literature. And then from the West, he was influenced by the American pragmatists like John Dewey, who he studied, and then he was a Marxist-Leninist. Yeah, Mao was a master thinker, right? Now, Mao, I will say, was a more impressive overall figure, maybe, than Lenin, because of what he accomplished. So militarily and politically, Mao was, he was probably the greatest Marxist in the 20th century, easily, right? But he did not really, his implication for Marxism was not as profound or transformative as Lenin's was, is the difference. But Mao was probably one of, if not the greatest living figure in the 20th century. I mean, who came close to Mao? Just think, the whole 20th century. Name one person that comes close to Mao. It's hard, isn't it? He's single-handedly probably the greatest individual of the 20th century. Stalin does come close. But to be honest, Mao took it to another level. Stalin did a lot. There's no Mao without Stalin, so we know that. There's no Mao without Stalin, 100,000%. That's absolutely true. No Mao without Stalin.
Lip service towards like progressive causes. Tulsi Gabbard's a full-on Republican now. Like the gray zone types are just full-on bought into like China, Russia, like Assad simping.
I love how he said the gray zone simps for them, but he doesn't simp for Biden and the Democrat Party.
That's the relationship. And I think the relationship
Mao was an anarchist at the beginning. So was I when I was 13.
Between all of them, like very, very basically, is their job, knowingly or unknowingly, is to take disillusioned people on the left and move them to the right.
How? Just how? You know what I mean? This is a fake, made-up fucking pipeline Vaush pulled out of his own fucking ass.
And they all do it in different ways from different perspectives. Like they're all.
Why does Vaush literally just make shit up and then goes on stream and just says it with a straight face?
All different. There are different like facets of that gemstone, but that's the overriding purpose, And some of them, like the gray zone types, I think might as well literally be like paid opposition. Like they might literally be in the employ of foreign governments. Blumenthal worked with RT. Aaron Mate presented on behalf of Russia to the UN. They've done their Assad stuff. Hinkle has gotten his money from that pro-Assadist anti-Semite group or whatever.
What a lying fucking bitch.
Some of them get paid directly. Some of them, I like Jimmy Dore. I just think likes his paychecks. I just think he'll say whatever. He would switch on a dime if there was more money to be made from a different thing.
That's just not true. That's just not true. There's probably more money to be made just going full Ben Shapiro. So why doesn't he do that?
And then you have Glenn Greenwald, who I think might just be having like a slow motion mental breakdown.
This is what nerds do. These like fucking pseudo intellectuals. They always go, anyone I disagree with is having a meltdown. They're all having meltdowns. Shut the fuck up. Why don't you go fucking bench half your weight? Why don't you fucking why don't you melt some weight down, you know? Yeah, everyone this is what fucking Vaush always says. Anytime someone's doing literally anything that he doesn't like, they could literally just be sitting on a fucking chair and Vaush will say they're having a meltdown. Shut the fuck up.
I don't know how many of these people...
Thank you, Arms.
How poor dietary
really
habits looks too.
Yeah, Nico House works for RT, and he's also friend to neo-Nazis. I think the Posobiec, right? That's his name. I think the unifying element here is that all of them take disillusioned leftists and make them conservative. They push them over to the right. But they're all ideologically dissonant, you know? They're very... they're in very different places.
Okay, so they all take leftists and they turn them against the Democrats. Is that what you're saying, Vaush? Let's be clear. Leftist means Democrat and all so-called causes sanctioned by the Democrats. You know, one thing I'd like to debate Vaush about, he'll never debate me about anything. I'm like, Vaush, how can you objectively measure the so-called progress, a left-wing progress? Why isn't this just institutionalized shit sanctioned by the Democrats? Why do you think this is some kind of like metaphysical progress? Some kind of like metaphysical opening in the fabric of historical being that's tending toward this direction, and if you oppose it, you're a reaction. It's like, how do you know what's what, right? Because there was a time when people thought eugenics was also that. And if you were opposing that, what are you, a reactionary?
Places. Yeah,
like, how do you objectively measure this beyond pro or anti-Democrat, right? How do you measure this except through the institution of the Democratic Party?
Caleb Maupin's a part of that as well. He's like with the gray zone types. As Jimmy Dore, I think Jimmy Dore just wants to make money off of it. But yeah, it's kind of like an intellectual dark web, yeah. But I don't like calling it the Nazbol vortex necessarily because honestly, the bull part of the Nazbol, the Bolshevik, that's not really even present. Like,
thank you, Anonymous.
Anonymous donated $3. Call Me By Your Name is a good movie.
Call me by your name. What's that song? The Lil Nas X song. Call me by your name. Satanic. Anyway. So he's saying it's no longer the Nazbol vortex because apparently he like what? Okay, keep coming up with new names, Vaush. It's gonna get you closer.
You have a thin veneer of left aesthetics pulling people right.
It's not just Dems. It's also the people who critique the Dems, but also just advocate for voting for Biden when push comes to shove. Shut the fuck up, dude. They are Dems. They're fucking Dems and hipster Dems. Let's just call them hipster Dems.
I don't even know if you could call that Nazbol, really. And Dorite is reductive because it's broader than that. It's
Vaush literally doesn't even know what Nazbol means.
I'd want to think of a better...
Do you think Vaush read the Nazbols of like that were fucking against the Treaty of Versailles in the aftermath of World War I and all these fucking Russian emigres or whatever? Like, you think he actually read those people and he knows about them? Or do you think he fucking read about Edward Limonov and like, where do you think Vaush even gets the idea of Nazbol? He probably just pulled that out of his ass.
Term. The dumb left seems like not enough to describe the whole...
You're dumb left, you're stupid, dumb.
The whole thing. You all get what I'm talking about, though, right? I need to think of, like...
Yeah, like, all these people who are, like, outside my bubble, they're all actually part of the same movement.
a good term. Honestly, like the term that I would go with is like the brown left, but that sounds like a poop joke. So,
Dude, Vaush is just gonna call every leftist that's not him a fucking Nazi. Oh, by the way, guys, you know this is fucking Vaush's like Deus Ex Machina, right? Fine, I'm gonna join the Ray in a sec. I'm just gonna finish this. Fuck. Damn. But he calls everybody a fucking this is Vaush's fucking only thing he can do. The only trick up his sleeve is, imagine if Vaush went on Joe Rogan. How would he talk to Joe Rogan? Nazis. If we don't do this, you are a Nazi. That's like the only thing he can do to people now is just threaten to call them Nazis or fearmonger about Nazis. That's all Vaush can fucking do. Everything has to be his way or Nazis. That's all. Imagine him on Joe Rogan. Just imagine. But anyway, the left hates Vaush. They hate him even more than me now, right? So I don't know why Vaush thinks he's the representative of the left when almost all the left fucking hates his guts. Anarchist, ML, whatever they are, they fucking hate Vaush and they see him as like a white chauvinist debate bro. So good job, Vaush. You don't have any leftists on your side anymore, bitch. Keep hiding behind the skirt of the left. They all fucking hate you now.
I don't know. Either way, I'll think about it. We're not deciding on a name today. Something will click for me, and I don't like the term alt-left because alt-righters are on the right, but these guys aren't on the left. Alt-left makes it sound...
Then what's the left, Vaush? All the fucking leftists hate you. Why do you think you're like the master of fucking political spectrums? Who the fuck are you, dude? You don't speak for the... You know what Vaush thinks? He thinks he's the alpha male of the left. Like, he's the king... He's the king of the left. That's how he sees himself. When they all fucking hate him. They either don't know who he is or they all fucking hate him.
Sound like they're the super extreme lefties, but they're not. So I don't like that term. I mean,
it's like, if anything, Hassan would be that on Twitch, but even Hassan's not big enough to be the king of the left. So how would you be the king of the left when you have a fucking tiny fraction of his fucking reach? What a fucking dumbass.
Red Fash isn't really descriptor here. Jimmy Dore isn't Red Fash. He's not quite that. Faux left might be a good one. And
okay, we're done with fucking Vaush the fat.